Welcome to Water Level. Today's update takes us once again to the two largest reservoirs in the Southwest, Lake Powell and Lake Mead, where we looked closely at the latest recorded levels, the recent trends through 2025, and how those numbers compare with past years. These reservoirs remain essential for water storage, power generation, and regional supply, and their daily data provides us with a very clear window into how conditions are unfolding. Starting first with Lake Powell, the most recent measurement was taken on Monday, September 22, 2025, when the surface elevation stood at 3,545.56 feet above mean sea level. That is 154.44 feet below the full pool elevation of 3,700 feet, showing just how far the lake remains from capacity. In terms of storage, Powell currently holds 27.98% of its total capacity, which translates to just over 2.2 trillion gallons of water. At the Glen Canyon Dam, the lake is sitting about 413.56 feet deep. When compared with previous marks, Powell's decline becomes clearer. The lake is now down 33.1 feet from this same date 1 year ago, and has also fallen 32.45 feet below its peak earlier this year. That means not only is Powell trailing last year's position, but it has also lost much of the rise it experienced during the spring and early summer. Daily changes continue to show a small but steady downward trend, reflecting how the reservoir has been behaving through late summer and early fall. Water inflow numbers also help explain this. So far in water year 2025, Powell has received about 5 million acre-feet of inflows, which is only about 49.77% of the average for this point in the season. Outflows, on the other hand, have been larger, totaling over 7.3 million acre-feet, which is nearly 98% of the required minimum release. With more water leaving than entering, storage has declined by more than 2.3 million acre-feet this year. Even the rivers feeding Powell are currently running at only 74% of their usual September averages, showing how inflow support has weakened. Now shifting to Lake Mead, the picture is somewhat similar. As of Tuesday, September 23, 2025, Mead's water level was measured at 1,056.72 feet above mean sea level. That leaves it 172.28 feet below its full pool of 1,229 feet. The reservoir has followed a pattern this year of modest gains in spring, followed by steady losses in the summer. Levels climbed gradually in early 2025, peaking just above 1,070 feet in late March before beginning a decline that carried through into late August. By early September, Mead had dipped to about 1,055 feet and has since remained near that range, showing only slight day-to-day movement. Looking back to last year, 2024's green line on the chart shows higher numbers across much of the year, with levels topping out near 1,078 feet in spring before declining into fall. This means Mead in 2025 is sitting noticeably lower than where it was just 1 year ago. Going back further to 2023, the contrast is different. That year began with Mead at a much lower point, near 1,045 feet, but then it rose dramatically through the spring to reach about 1,065 feet by May. Compared with that recovery, 2025 has been weaker, showing steadier but smaller seasonal gains. As of the latest update, Mead has fallen about 0.06 feet since yesterday, another small dip in its ongoing downward slide. When considering both lakes side by side, the broader story comes into focus. Lake Powell at 3,545 feet and Lake Mead at 1,056 feet are both lower than their 2024 levels and well below their full storage capacities. Powell is now over 154 feet below full pool, while Mead is more than 172 feet below full pool. Seasonal peaks in 2025 have been lower and shorter-lived than the surges seen in 2023, and the graphs show both reservoirs trending steadily downward as September progresses. This leaves us with a consistent theme. 2025 has been a year of modest rises and gradual declines. Neither Powell nor Mead has reached the stronger spring peaks seen in 2023 or 2024, and both now sit significantly lower than they did at this same time last year. To wrap up today's update, Lake Powell is at 3,545.56 feet, down 33 feet compared with last September, and over 32 feet below its high earlier this year. Lake Mead is at 1,056.72 feet, also lower than last year, and continuing to edge down slightly day by day. Both reservoirs remain far below full pool and continue to follow the familiar seasonal cycle of spring rises followed by summer and fall declines, but 2025's values confirm that they are running weaker than in previous years. That concludes this detailed review of the current water levels at Lake Powell and Lake Mead. These daily measurements provide a clear snapshot of how the reservoirs are performing, and they'll continue to be important indicators as we move through the final months of the water year. Thank you for following along with this update, and we'll keep watching these numbers closely in future reports.